uh, focused on ensuring that there are a lot of changes. Prime Minister Modi and Joe Biden as well speaking about it. And we just put out the statement as well, Quad, saying in as many words that we're concerned about South and East China Seas and the militarization that's taking place. Let's open this up and speak about the significance of this meeting. We have Captain Alok Bansal joining us. He's the director of the India Foundation. Dr. Satori Nagao, senior fellow, also joining us on the broadcast with us. Let's speak about what this means. Colonel Grant Newsom is also with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Captain Alok, I'd like to begin with you. Very, very important meeting taking place, and this is a meeting that the world will be watching. World, yes, and more importantly, this is a meeting that will be viewed very closely by China. How do you look at the statement that has been issued?
See, I found the meeting to be very significant because it brings the largest democracies, most important democracies of the world together. And as Prime Minister Modi said in his opening remark, this is actually a meeting where the democracies of like-minded democracies come together, striving to work for a rule-based international order. One of the criticisms of Quad that has been there, as you rightly brought out, that yes, Quad has been meeting, but nothing substantial was being done. But please understand, considering the terms of reference, considering the terms of this summit, there was no security angle involved in it. And in the absence of security angle, a lot of economic promises were made, which were not often implemented. But this time, as you see, this moonshot cancer initiative of President Biden is a very, very unique and a significant initiative, because I think this brings these Quad countries together to tackle a menace that affects the humanity to a very great extent. And I think Prime Minister Modi's commitment in terms of funds, about I think $7.5 million he has committed initially to this particular proposal, is a good beginning that we are now making. Of course, there are numerous issues. I personally feel that what Prime Minister Modi would be wanting to discuss with the Quad leaders, and especially with President Biden, is what transpired between him and President Putin as well as President Zelensky, because I think India is now taking a significant initiative to resolve Russia-Ukraine conflict. And I think the humanity at large wants this conflict to end. And I think to that extent, it's a very, very significant initiative that's been taken, and he would definitely want to exchange views with the other leaders on what has transpired and take their feedback so that this process could be expedited.
Okay, all right. Dr. Satori Nagao, Senior Fellow from the Hudson Institute, I'd like to take this across to you. You mentioned what is expected from this meeting. But the fact that Joe Biden, in fact, when he was asked about what is the future of Quad after November, his gesture, there's a lot of chatter around that as well. How do you see this going forward in the meetings that have taken place yesterday, in the meetings that have taken place now in the Quad meeting? And how do you see this go forward from here?
When we check the last 6 Quad summit and which 8 the foreign minister meeting of the Quad, the step by step, it has improved the cooperation. Especially in the past, main focus area is only maritime security with plus. But now the maritime area expand to the air cooperation, air security cooperation. So that's why I focusing on launch of the Quad Indo-Pacific Logistics Network pilot project is a very significant step, and it will make the future. Because even if the main purpose is disaster management, indeed this logistics-related airlift capability, maritime lift capability is power projection capability. So if something happens in the Indo-Pacific, any area, Quad can cooperate to mobilize, deploy their forces. So main focus is disaster management. But view from China, this is a very good pressure. So we are strengthening our cooperation step by step. And so this means that this improving will continue, because there is achievement. Anyone can see this is improving successful cooperation. That's why the future will come based on this cooperation. People want to continue. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Japan's Mr. Kishida as well as Joe Biden are not going to be there wherever the next meeting takes place. But there is hope because of the decisions that have been taken, including the cooperation of the Coast Guards. Colonel Grant, how do you view the meeting and how do you see this going forward?
I view the meeting as a success, particularly when you consider things 30 years ago, 25 years ago. The idea of these four countries getting together and cooperating like this, saying the things they're saying, taking really a common position against the biggest threat in the region, which is the People's Republic of China. This was unthinkable. And now it's almost a matter of course. So you're seeing an alignment of strategic interests. Sometimes you're a little curious or wonder what the Australians actually think. But I think all four countries are pretty much online when it comes to dealing with the People's Republic of China. And as mentioned, they're talking about doing more things than just a security cooperation. The cooperation on healthcare, for example, infrastructure, port development, telecommunications, improving that in the region, particularly the Pacific Island regions. These are considerable accomplishments, and they've got some success to sort of measure already, but there's a lot more that needs to be done. This really needs to be put into a systematic sort of approach to things where you have objectives and they do get carried out. So we're still at the early stages in that regard. The cooperation on humanitarian assistance, disaster relief that was mentioned earlier, this is noteworthy. I would note, of course, that humanitarian assistance, disaster relief operations, when you look at what the actual steps and activities that are involved, about 90% of these relate to the things you would do in actual war fighting. And this is an important thing to move forward like this. So I expect that the Quad will continue and it will have some good momentum. And regardless of a new Japanese prime minister, a new American president, I think there will be some momentum. It would be nice if particularly speaking for the Americans, if they would perhaps get over this idea that the administration in India is a threat to democracy and stop trying to impose some of our social justice ideas onto India. That would be my advice for a new administration, particularly if it's a Harris administration. I don't think a Trump administration will need that reminder.
Okay, all right. Request you to stay with us. We have more updates coming in. After the Quad meeting in Delaware, Prime Minister Modi is now heading to New York, where he will be addressing a large community event in Long Island the next day. That is on the 23rd of September. He will speak at the UN Summit of Future before returning to India. So his address to the Indian diaspora will be taking place in New York. It's at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum in New York, where the event will be taking place. A grand event expected. Prime Minister Modi is going to be addressing the Indian community, the Indian diaspora, who's ready to welcome the Prime Minister. In fact, the Prime Minister is expected to land in New York shortly. And as has been the case, every time the Prime Minister visits any foreign country, especially in the United States, there's a very grand welcome accorded to the Prime Minister, and that's expected in New York as well. He's expected to arrive in just a few moments. On the right side of your screens are the visuals of the members of the Indian diaspora, all set and ready to welcome the Prime Minister.
हम स्पेशली इंडिया से आए हैं अपने ऑनरेबल प्रधानमंत्री श्री को वेलकम करने के लिए फ्लाई करके आए हैं बिफोर 2 days ईयर। और ये हैंडमेड पोर्ट्रेट है पूरा, एक टाइप 1 डायबिटीज छोटे बच्चे ने अपने हाथों से बनाया है और मोदी जी को वो थैंक यू बोलना चाहता है क्योंकि मोदी जी ने ब्लेसिंग से उनको फ्री इंसुलिन मिल रहा है जो उनकी लाइफ सेविंग उनकी ड्रग है। So he expressed gratitude on behalf of all type 1 diabetes children of India. So मैं फ्लाई करके आई हूँ मोदी जी को थैंक यू बोलने के लिए।
So I am from Long Island, New York, and we are here to welcome our own Shri Narendra Modi ji. We all are super super excited, very, very excited to see him and meet him personally, greet him personally. Bharat Mata ki Jai.
और मैं बहुत ही एक्साइटेड हूँ, पहली बार उनसे मिलने के लिए आ रहा हूँ और मतलब मैं बता नहीं सकता कि इतना गर्व फील हो रहा है मुझे कि आई कैन एटलीस्ट उनको देख सकता हूँ यहाँ पे इन सबके सामने, तो बहुत ही लाइक ओवरवेलमिंग, आई कैन नॉट इवन स्पीक लाइक व्हाट आई कैन से फील इट।
माय नेम इज मंदार केलकर, मराठी विश्व प्रेसिडेंट। आज मैं नरेंद्र जी मोदी से मिलने के लिए आ रहा हूँ। आई एम वेरी वेरी एक्साइटेड टू सी हिम फर्स्ट टाइम। थैंक यू सो मच। आई एम कमिंग फ्रॉम एडिसन, न्यू जर्सी।
Well, this is going to be a sight to behold. In a few hours from now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be here. I'm standing right now at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island in New York. And in some time from now, you can expect that this stadium, this arena, is going to be filled to capacity. It accommodates about 14,000 people. And what I've been told by the organizers is that as many as 40 to 45,000 people registered for this event, and only 14,000 at the end of the day can make it to the stadium. The rehearsals have just concluded, and very soon, of course, the stadium will be completely empty. Preparations are, of course, being made for people to be coming in at approximately 7:30 to 8 in the morning before this cultural extravaganza gets underway at 10 o'clock in the morning, New York time. The Prime Minister, of course, will be making an address and is expected to speak at length about the evolution of Indo-American ties during his tenure as Prime Minister so far. And what's been a very important and a very unique feature of his diplomacy and his foreign policy outreach is to actually reach out to members of the Indian diaspora all across the world. We saw that happen for the very first time in 2014 when Prime Minister Modi addressed a capacity crowd at Madison Square Garden when he made his first visit to the United States as Prime Minister. Now, of course, 10 years into his tenure, he'll be once again repeating that feat, so to speak, but at another venue, this time around at the Nassau Coliseum in the presence of almost 15,000 people. The anticipation is building up. It's going to be a big, big event, and there are more than 4.5 million Indian Americans who will be looking forward to this very important occasion, also happening in the build-up to the American elections, which take place in November. Indian Americans are, of course, a very important electoral constituency now. They exercise a fair amount of influence in American politics, and they'll be keenly watching the proceedings in the Nassau Coliseum when the Prime Minister speaks tomorrow.
So that's my colleague Siddharth, who is joining us from New York in the build-up to the grand event that's going to be taking place in some hours from now. We continue getting you the reports from the spot, requesting our guests also to stay with us as we analyze the Quad meeting and what this means. We're slipping into a very quick break here. We'll be right back to stay with us.